everyone, finally getting around to making my music and travel vlog for Cartagena, Colombia. It was kind of a little bit of a more detailed city. We went there on two different occasions, so I just wanted to be a little bit more clear on all the details here. When we first arrived, we went to a town called Crespo, which is near the airport. It's a nice place. There's not a lot of stuff to do there. It's not the touristy part of Colombia or of Cartagena, but it was a little bit inexpensive. We stayed in a pretty nice place. It was only about maybe $6 or $7 to travel to the walled city, which is the place that most people know for Cartagena. So there's a few different parts like Getsemani, San Diego, and La Matuna. We basically walked around the entire city with a tour guide. We saw the different art areas, saw some really cool stuff like superstitious architecture where they had some little like points on the edges of some buildings to try to keep witches from landing on their houses. We definitely saw some pretty sad history in the sense of slavery, where they had different parts of town that were for just for slaves, just for lower class people as well. Even some really small like entryways for people who had slaves living in their house. Really, the history is quite disturbing when you travel through all of the Americas and you start to discover many different aspects of slavery. But there's a lot of history with Cartagena. It was one of the major ports. Actually, Havana, I'm in Havana right now actually. Havana and Cartagena were two of the major ports for the Spanish colonialists, bringing in slaves and doing their gold trade and coffee trade, sugar trade, stuff like that. So yeah, actually there's a town, I didn't get there. I didn't have time on this trip, but I will be going soon. It's called San Basilio de Palenque, and this was the first town to ever be freed from slavery in all of the Americas. Super interesting town. Actually, some of the foundations of the most famous aspects of Colombian music, like cumbia and champeta, are from not only Cartagena but San Basilio de Palenque. So if you make your way to Cartagena, I recommend getting on a tour and going to San Basilio. Everything that I saw was super interesting. The reasons why we couldn't make it were because there's not a lot of tours. There's not a lot of options for getting there. There's not easy transportation. To me, it still seems like there's kind of a lot of oppression towards that town. A lot of people were like, well, why do you want to go there? I'm like, because it's a historic town. They were the first town ever freed from slavery. They have all kinds of cool music culture, people playing hand drums. I mean, there's some documentaries you can find on YouTube of this town. So I definitely recommend going out of your way to go there. When we were in the walled city in Cartagena, we stumbled across some cool things like a parade that's called Mapale. I think it was in the Getsemani region. We were in actually like a little art alleyway. I don't remember the exact name of the alleyway, but there's a cool coffee shop there. Definitely recommend just walking up and down there. A couple cool hostels. If you want to stay there, I think that would be a cool place to stay too. But Mapale was super cool. It was just people dancing. There was people following them. There was some police. There was kind of protecting them, and they just walked through the whole alleyway. We were able to catch their little ceremony, so that was super cool. My understanding is that it's kind of historic from the slaves that came from Angola. I don't know for sure if that's exactly right, but it kind of, I guess, makes sense because historically there are a lot of traditions there you know, a lot of the music and stuff that came from there are all like rhythms and influences from the culture in Africa. So the things that I read were that this particular type of ceremony and parade came from Angola. We finished up a major part of the tour at a place where they used to have like kind of a model of the Roman Colosseum, and they used to have bullfighting. It used to be called Circo Teatro, and I guess it shut down, a few decades ago. And then also bullfighting was made illegal in the last decade or so as well. But they used to have like operas and plays. I mean, obviously it was called a circus theater, which is interesting to me because I used to be in the circus. So, but now it's a mall, and they were required to keep some of the original styling of the arena. So actually, where the food court is, there's actually an arena that looks like a bullfighting arena. They don't do any of that now. There's actually like water spouts and stuff that come up. It's pretty cool. But it's called Centro Comercial La Cerrezuela. So if you're there, definitely check that out. Towards the end of our trip, it was we got to go back to Cartagena and stay in the walled city, and we found some cool bars like a Russian bar. It was all like Soviet Union style, KGB. I think was the name actually. We found some really, there's a really good salsa music scene. There's actually a club that's just there's actually like a few restaurants about Cuba, and there's also like a Havana nightclub where you could see like traditional Cuban soul music. We ended up going into another salsa show, which is generally based on Cuban soul. And then the very last day we went to an island, the Tierra Bomba. It's only about a 15-20 minute boat ride. Pretty nice little small boat, take a boat over, and then there's these little like relaxing, we stayed at one called Namaste. It was a really cool like lounging spa by the beach with food. Super cool place, but we just kind of took it easy the last day.